Welcome back to Comedians in Bed, uh, where comedians could be comedians. And I don't really know what that means, felines, but it just sounds like something you should say on a podcast. Our next guest is nothing short of professional. I mean, her setup looks better than my setup. I don't know what kind of camera she got, but it's definitely better than my camera. The whole setup, she just doing her damn thing, not as a comic, but just as a woman in general. Someone that I look up to because there's not too many 30-year-olds out here taking chances on themselves. But this one is, and we're so happy to have her. Uh, shit. I forgot to ask you beforehand how you pronounce your last name. I feel like it's Vora,
Wow,
Vera.
guess. What are you saying? What'd you say?
Is it Vera or Vora?
It's Vora.
Vora. All right, cool. Tanya Vora, everybody. What's going on? My fault. How
That's
you feeling
okay, no
about it?
worries. I'm good, I'm good. I'm excited to be on here. Thanks for having me.
Man, your birthday party was a shindig, bro. It shut down the whole daggone city. I was like, is this a party or a networking event? I love this.
That's true. You told me that you were networking with people. I never thought people would be doing that, so that's cool. It was very fun. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, man, because Columbus is comedy is a little scattered, so it's rare that we can all like be in one place. We kind of just kind of catch each other. I think like before you
Yeah.
started, we would all like be at Shrunken Head, and that would be the one place where we would see each other. But now it's just like we just kind of catch each other whenever we can. So yeah, it was real cool.
Mm. I missed the Shrunken Head. I came in 2023, so I missed that. But yeah, I agree. It's nice to hang out with comedians when there's not like the stressor of a show happening behind us.
That was the last time that Columbus comedy was relatively good. Was when Shrunken Head was. Ever since then, it's just gone downhill.
Oh, for real.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's just my 2 cent. But yeah,
Right. I'm so interested. Well, because like that was just like a good mic. Is that what you're saying?
it was a good mic. It just felt like the only time that it was, well, to me, it felt like the last time we had like an actual community, like a shared space. Sometimes like say if you see comics at the store or at the cellar, they're in the back in the booth. That was our back in the booth type thing. But we don't have that anymore. Everybody's just scattered.
Yeah.
But how has your experience been being a comic and being in Columbus? You only done it in Columbus, right?
Columbus slash I was in a festival in LA um in 2024 last year. So yeah, basically just here. I haven't done it elsewhere, even in Ohio. But it's interesting. I mean, from what I've heard, it's still growing. Like we're still defining ourselves and even after especially after the pandemic, like I heard there was a lot of changes. And so it's cool to see a lot of women and it's more supportive than I thought it would be, especially amongst the women folk. And then people of color, we all just migrate to, we all just like join forces immediately. That's how we became friends. Um, but it's good. The only issue, I mean, my main issue with like our culture is that I wish our show and mic scene, I wish all the organizers would talk to each other and have the same goals in mind in terms of like, we could all maybe put more effort into like appealing to crowds versus like having like mics and shows just for comics. And I think that will just make us all stronger, like as opposed to all of us competing with each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. Uh, I wouldn't agree that they're for comics. I just think that they're not good enough to bring people in.
Oh,
It's no shade, but I'm just just throwing it out there. But fives and bourbon and like hashtag are like the only ones that bring in people. But even then,
yeah.
I'm telling you, man, Shrunken Head used to have them. Okay, I gotta let Shrunken Head go. It's in the past. Gotta let it go. That's what I'm learning in
Rest in
comedy.
peace.
Like that's what I'm learning in comedy. Like everything's not gonna stay the same. You just gotta
Yeah.
move on. You just gotta roll with the tide and move on. With there being so many women in the scene, to me, when people ask me, I always tell them that the women run this scene in Columbus now. You guys have the most producers, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and you run the best shows. And you saw that. So what made you want to get in on the producer side?
Oh, I feel like there's psychology there. Like women are natural empathizers, and therefore we produce events that we'd want to see. We put ourselves in like the shoes of the audience.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, planning too. I feel like women are natural planners too. But how did I start producing? I produce events I have a company called Spice Up. and we host events where I interview a chef and people try their food at the same time. And so I had a background in producing. And so I wanted to try it myself. I've produced an open mic and a couple shows here. And now I'm trying to bring comedy to Spice Up too. So that's my next venture.
You seem to be like this real go-getter when it comes to entrepreneurship. Where does that come from? Because I mean, I watch TV shows, and TV, they make up this whole, and they have this perception that Indians are just supposed to be like doctors and lawyers and shit like that. So like you kind of like taking your own path. And that's why I fuck with you because you're not your typical uh you don't go with the tradition. And not just because you're a brown lady, but I feel like America needs to break away from traditions and be more modern to a sense. That's what they're trying to do with the government now, but it's in a disturbing way. So not that way, but like a more peaceful way. But like, where did this entrepreneurial spirit come from? Like you work for yourself all the way through.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, tie for president 2028. Let's see. Uh, I mean, honest. Okay, so what's funny is that like there's a stereotype of people from Gujarat, India, specifically where I'm from, owning businesses. So anyone with the last name Patel is from Gujarat, and like there's the stereotype of like owning gas stations and motels and things like that. Um, but like I didn't really want to own a business up until like 2016, 2017. My parents owned their own practice. My dad's a doctor and he owned his own practice, but it never really like I never put two and two together of like he's a doctor and he owns a business. I just thought he's a
Yeah.
doctor and I don't want to do that. But I started doing like business pitch competitions. That's actually how I started doing comedy too, where I got like the motivation. So like have you heard of Startup Weekend?
No.
Okay, let me tell you about it. So it's like there's chapters all across the world in all like cities. And essentially what it is like people come on like a Friday, pitch an idea, and if it's chosen to go on to the next round, they work on validating it on that Saturday and then pitching it to investors on that Sunday. And so I did a couple of those and I learned how to like speak into a mic. And like I the first one I went to, I wasn't gonna pitch. I just wanted to like observe, but I saw a bunch of men standing in line and I'm like, I'm not gonna let that fly. I'm gonna
Hmm.
go pitch a random ass idea right now. And my first concept was like a heel where you take off the heel and it can turn into a flat. And we prototyped it over the weekend and whatnot. Anyways, so like that's what started my motivation to start a business. I met a bunch of other entrepreneurs through that process, still involved in the startup scene. I worked for a startup. And then yeah, and then eventually that led to stand up because I was speaking in front of crowds. So
Okay, okay. In your stand-up career, the short time that has been, when I first saw you, I thought that you were like very PG, like a very PG comic, very super safe, like Easter Bunny, you know.
Easter Bunny,
Yeah,
what
but
does that
now,
mean?
like like how basically Easter is like the story of Jesus Christ, like resurrecting for our sins, right? But like
Yeah,
the PG version of that is like Easter bunnies and Easter eggs and candy, and it's just a
gotcha.
joyful time. But the truth of it is, the ones that believe is like, no, this is when he died on the cross and he was like super bloody and it was a massacre and all this type of stuff. So you went from like PG Easter to like to crucifixion Easter, and now you're like more edgy. You're still yourself, but you do it with more attitude, which I feel like all comics need. What sparked that change?
Oh wow, I don't know. That's so interesting to hear that perspective. I don't know. That's so funny because like I feel like if I tried to define my humor and the things I'm into, it'd be more like dark and like British. A lot of British like dry, like absurd, surrealist humor. So that's like where my brain goes, and I was trying to bring that out. So I don't know. It just took like time to. I remember you telling me there was a show earlier this year that we were both on. You're like, you seem more confident. That was it, and I was like, I think I just stopped caring. I just started
Yeah,
saying what I want to. And started looking at, I've been looking at more references of like things that define my humor, like things I watched growing up. And so that's been helping too.
I get that. I get that. Last night I was at the mic, and Xavier, when you get done at Summit, he comes up with you, and I was saying stuff about white women, and he's like, you always say stuff about white women, basically in a nutshell. And I was like, yeah, because I can't. say anything to them at work. Like I just have to be professional. But but here I can say how I really want. So yeah, I get what you're saying because like I used to be like, let me say it, but it's like, nah, this is the time. And we're like the only true art form, even though they're trying to, contain us where you could say what you want and not necessarily get in trouble for it. The only trouble you get
Yeah.
is somebody might say they don't like it in an article, and that's just criticism, no different than, an R&B album.
Yeah.
What does now that you're doing comedy, is it what you thought it would be? And if not, what did you think it was and what is it?
Do you have a list of
Nah, I just come up with these
just come
off
up
the yeah.
um is it what I thought it would be or is it different?
Yeah.
Okay, I have thoughts here of like I think like at first when everyone starts, you just kind of have to dive into the deep end. I'm curious what your thoughts are here too of like when you first start, you like your expectations are based off of like TV and what you see. Because I know you started in like 2018, 2019, right?
Hmm.
And so then when you're in it, well, when you go to comedy shows, it's like you assume it's like polished. And then when you do it, you realize like we're just getting up there and trying whatever. And so like it's changed in the sense of like I stopped caring as much, which again relates to like being more confident with it. But like and also we're lucky with our scene. Again, it's like super supportive and like you go other places or I hear about other places where it's like they're still building it and like there's like one woman in the city. And
Hmm.
I'm fortunate to like have started when there's people like you here and like other women. So
Yeah.
that's been cool.
For me, I just thought it was a place where people come, to have fun, make people laugh, and be funny. But in reality, it's a lot of drama. It's a lot of unprofessionalism. It's a lot of fickleness, and because of that, it made me be on top of my shit 10 times more, so that when people see me, you can have your own personal feelings about me, but you can't say I'm unprofessional. You may say I'm not funny. That may be a personal gripe because you just don't like me or whatever. I
Yeah.
personally don't care if another comic, unless it's like somebody that's been in the game a little older than me, but I really don't care if comics find me funny or not. It's about the audience. I think we
Yeah.
forget that sometimes. And it just made me being in it now, it just made me how more of a business it is. And so now that I feel like I have the writing down and I'm more comfortable on stage. I'm more so focused on like the business side of like comedy and trying to get that point down so that when I when the talent goes here, the business is here too. Everything is, in one
Yeah.
accord. So that's how I see it.
I wanted to speak on that a little bit too. I agree that like those are all things I realized too. Like, but it takes you time. It takes like at least like 6+ months to like realize like, oh, it's a business. Social media is a tool. It's not
Mhm.
just for fun, or at least it should be, right? And then
Yeah.
like setting your goals and like figuring out what you want out of this is going to define how you perceive this industry and whatnot. Like, so if you want to be a headliner, you're going to have to behave differently than if you just want to like produce shows or do podcasts or things like that. So that was also something I realized later on.
Yeah, and I realize sometimes people are still trying to find out their way. Like they may start off as a comic, but after 5 years, it may be like, hey, I'm better at producing. They may try to be a booker at a club. So that's why I try to treat people, at least be cordial to everybody, say what's up, because you never know who they can be, and you
Yeah,
just never know like what their end goal will be in this industry, in this business.
that's so true.
What do you think? Last question. What do you think the future of comedy is pertaining to women,
Pertaining to women, just in general or in Columbus, do you mean?
just in general?
Oh God. I mean, it depends. I agree with what you said earlier of like it shifts with like the shifts of the country too. Like I don't know, I just don't I feel like comedy as an art form is a reaction to like our observations of the world. And so like right now, I'm hoping more women come out in opposition to like the current administration. But like I'm appreciative of like how much support there is for women. Like I know one of your questions is like one of our favorite like comedians like that we think should be on Mount Rushmore. And there are a lot of men that I'm going to mention, and there aren't a lot of women. And now it's changed where the like Gen Z, Gen Alpha are probably going to have more women and, as inspirations. And I think that's cool. I think
Yeah.
that's interesting. What about you? What do you think?
No, I agree. Like I think there were women comics out there. I just think they didn't have the visibility. Like the
Yeah.
first woman comic I've ever known, besides my mom, would be Wanda Sykes, and then after that would be like Dominique or Monique. Wow, black comics. Black women comics really just go by one name. That's crazy. I just realized that. But I think now is their moment. I don't know if women ever had a moment in comedy, but I would say if you're a woman in comedy, don't let this moment pass. Like don't let it just be a moment. Like, no, we're here and you're gonna respect us and we're just as funny and shit like that. And I don't agree with every woman needs to, I'm not on that level yet. So, I don't agree that every woman needs to just wear like pants and a leather jacket. Like, because I
Yeah.
wear shorts on stage too.
I think it's okay. I think like the at least like I want my audience to be women, to be honest. So I'm like doing it for them. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that.
yeah.
Um, who is on your Mount Rushmore for comedy?
Let me tell you, one second, I made a list. Okay. Also I want to say like I'm super blown out. Like there my window's right here, and I promise I'm brown, everyone, if you're watching the video. Um, let me see. Okay. So it started with I grew up watching a lot of Conan O'Brien, and
Mm,
like that defines a lot of my humor. And I didn't realize that until recently. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to watch more clips of him because that's what I used to watch all the time. Jim Carrey, grew up with him, watching like all his movies, Dumb and Dumber. And slash like I wanted to add like Will Ferrell. Like there was a time in comedy movies that our generation grew up, we were around the same age, grew
yeah.
up with. Actually, I don't know if you watch those, but
Yeah.
it's movies.
I watched the White Funnies.
Yeah. The white bunnies. I'm basically, I was like socialized as a white person in America. So that's right. And then Ali Wong, one of my favorite stand-ups, period. She just happens to also be Asian. And then have you heard of Richard Ayoade?
Nah, I never heard of him.
What? Okay. Again, I grew up watching a lot of British shows. I don't know why. I just like internalized colonialism. I don't know. But he's a British comedian who was in the IT crowd. If you've never seen that, it's a really good like office humor show.
Hmm.
But he's really good. And he has a show called The Travel Man that I love. He's just like dry humor. Um, Honorable mention, do want to mention Jordan Peele because like loved Key and Peele. And then also I love horror is my favorite genre. And so like the way he's combined the two, horror and comedy, brilliant.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
used to watch Key and Peele when they were on Mad TV. That's how I started watching Key and
Yeah.
Peele. I fuck with Conan O'Brien. Him and Jay Leno is the only like late night shows that I would watch. And one of my favorite comedians who's on Mount Rushmore, Dion Cole, used to actually write for Conan O'Brien. And there was one more other. Oh, yes. You said that you watch a lot of TV's British shows.
Mhm.
That makes a lot of sense as to why you dated Ginger. That makes so much sense now.
Well, his background, he's Irish, right? So like they're still oppressed by the British. So I'm like, there's a connection. That's why.
What piece of motivation or advice would you give to any comedian that's listening to this right now?
Ooh, okay. We talked about setting goals. I think that's super important. I'm a big planner, and I think that's just super important to have like intentions.
Mm,
I also think like so okay, there's a quote that I have been living by, and it's like set me and my motivations up for like the past couple years, and it's by Seth Rogen, and unfortunately like now Seth Rogen is like an aspirational motivational figure. But he said if you don't quit, you might make it. And if you do quit, you definitely won't. And I was like, dang, I gotta keep at this. Like, have you ever started like something and you like don't want to do it anymore? But if you just stuck with it 5 years later, it's like that could have been something. And so that's what I've been sticking with. I've listened to your other episodes of like just like you kind of have to figure this out on your own. Like there's no
mhm,
blueprint for like as opposed to like if this was like if you were going to med school, like there's
mhm.
like set like steps and then you get a degree and then you're a doctor. This there's like no steps. Like you have to figure it out on your own. You could go to Kill Tony and make it within the first year of doing comedy, which isn't like traditionally how it's been. So it's just like trusting your gut. You're gonna get a lot of advice and you just got to go with what you think is correct. So,
Message.
Yeah, that last part that you said about staying in it for 5 years and you could have been happy. I'm gonna clip that and send that to my ex. What's what's tell people why they should listen to comedians in bed.
oh, because it's a fun time and Ty's super funny and yeah, you're gonna learn a lot about comedy.
Tanya,
There you go.
tell people where they can find you at.
You can find me at Totally Tanya. I gotta spell it TOTALLYTANYA. Or I have my company Spice Up Eats, SPICEEATS. Wait, SPICEUPEATS. There we go. Boom.
Have you ever seen a movie Aquila and the Spelling Bee?
What joke you about to make about Indian people? What are you about to say? What are you about to say?
You messed up that spelling, bro. I was like, you might want to watch Aquila and the Spelling Bee real quick.
I told you I didn't go to med school.
It's a
I'm
good.
not good at spelling things.
That's okay. That's what's up. Hey, check us out next week. We go live every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you miss our live, that's okay. You can stream us wherever you listen to podcasts. Will be available. And if you don't have time to stream, just check out weekly clips on our podcast at Comedians in Bed Podcast. Want to thank my homegirl Tanya for coming up here today. Check out any shows that she has or produced. They're pretty great. They're pretty wonderful, spectacular. We want to thank the Columbus comedy scene for making us better and not breaking our backs. We're going to keep fighting every single day. Everybody, want to thank you for coming on here. See you guys next week.